somebody who he got his law degree because his family has artifacts and documentation on the lineage of what land should actually be in what hands. And he went to he's fighting the case in the international courts in Switzerland to try to regain Hawaiian
properties.
Kingdom. A lot of people still think the Hawaiian Kingdom is alive, strong. So there's kind of this, I think, misconception about the native Hawaiian people before the white man came, that they were almost, hundreds of years back in time, like cavemen. They lived in grass huts and didn't use, guns. They just hunted with sticks. Very, primitive, I guess would be the word. Check this out. Iolani Palace had electricity before the White House.
Ooh.
Public education was mandatory in the Hawaiian Kingdom years before the United States decided it was mandatory. They were actually very advanced. If this land was not stolen, I think it would be very interesting to see what Hawaii turned into. I think it would be more similar to Tahiti or Samoa or Tonga, but I also think it would be much more advanced in terms of trade and international cooperation, because the leaders in those areas didn't really want to be part of the international market. But King Kamehameha was an intelligent man, very intelligent, recognized that Hawaii had a lot to offer to the world and that the world had a lot to offer Hawaii. But they would put a filter. You would not have these skyscrapers, guaranteed. There would be a much more obvious tie to the land. Hawaii originally was divided by the king into what's called ahupuahas. Ahupua'a. It's basically a wedge, a pie-shaped slice of the island, starting at the peak, going down to the water. And each section had everything that was necessary to support a community. It had fresh running water, it had arable land for farming, it had hunting grounds, it had beach access, everything you need. And that's how Hawaii was divided up. Each ahupua'a would have an ali'i, a chief, to kind of keep things in order. So I think Hawaii would be much more like that nowadays. It would be sustainable, self-sustainable areas broken up. But the interesting thing, I think, is that Hawaii was seized before tourism existed. There was no tourism industry in the 1800s. That was not a thing. People didn't just go travel for leisure.
Yeah.
You were an explorer if you did that. Charles Darwin type of person. So I would be so curious to see how they adapted to international tourism, still being respectful to the land. I think the population would continue to increase to a point where it's necessary to build upwards a little bit.
Oh yeah, right?
But
natives.
Yeah. But I think there would also be some method of control put in place.
I think as soon as they see that natives are also gaining out of this kind of communicational business, or then they're also going to accept whatever the outsiders are bringing, right?
Like I
Traders
don't think that they would say we're not going to use the internet.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they cannot avoid that kind of,
But they would incorporate it in a way that's respectful to the land.
Yeah, exactly.
Their traditions.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like is missing.
Yeah. Nowadays, that is becoming, that consciousness is being discussed by everyone, even business leaders, international commuters. Yeah.
I mean, it's, I think, become pretty obvious to most people that if we continue at our current rate, we won't have a planet to live on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
So the values the Hawaiian culture is offering, that is also really important for the humanity's survival,
Absolutely.
right? So we cannot avoid all those practices.
I think that it is no coincidence that every culture that has ever existed in humanity has formed some connection with what they consider a deity presence,
Yeah,
some type of god.
yeah,
Hawaiians, they associated different entities like Pele is the volcano goddess. There's Maui and Nalo and all these entities that are responsible for nature and the forces that we see. And pretty much every culture has
yeah, exactly. The
gone through that.
existential.
Right.
Yeah,
And I think that's no coincidence.
yeah, exactly. And some people still believe it, but most of them don't. So that's the difference.
I like to read, I like to study, and please stop me if I offend at any point, but one of the issues that I've come back to and I've studied extensively is the idea of consciousness. At what point do we consider something conscious? Do you consider a rock conscious? Probably not. Do you consider a Venus flytrap conscious? And then we're starting to get into questions. Is a jellyfish conscious? What is required for that designation? I have the best answer that I can come up with is consciousness is tied to entropy, a measure of disorder, a measure of chaos in a system. I think if you get enough molecules and atoms and particles together, they will eventually work as a system, just naturally.
Yeah.
I think that's just built into whatever fabric of the universe we occupy. I don't want to quantify it really.
Yeah.
I think that there are higher dimensions. I think that our three-dimensional space is mathematically explainable. And if you extrapolate on that, you can go up to 9 or 10 dimensions, depending on how you consider the starting point. And as you go up in these dimensions, it's like every possibility that could happen, every choice that you make both of those choices, and it's like it splits into a multiverse type of equation. Just mathematically, this is one of the most logical explanations for what we observe and what we can make predictions based on.
Yeah. In one way, it's so simple, but on the other side, we make it so complicated for others to understand.
Everything is through our own filter.
Yeah, exactly.
We all have different experiences that shape how we react to things, but there is no inherent meaning to anything. No event has any meaning. It's physical laws. This molecule interacted with this molecule and did it because it has to, not because it wanted to. An example I like to use is somebody spitting in your face. You can choose exactly how you react to that. You can laugh at it, you can be puzzled by it, you can be angered by it, you can have a physical reaction to it, but at the end of the day, it's still a choice. And
Yeah.
like you said,
Most of us are not, controlled by that kind of emotion that we can control our emotion.
right, our ego gets in the way.
Yeah. So, what did you study? You are coming from